Hey everyone! If you'd mind taking a place, calming a bit down so our speakers have silence to speak. Welcome to today's crew talk. This time we'll be talking about Python, and I believe most of you are Python developers, and some of you might be even interested in AI, which is the topic we will talk about today. And we have two speakers today. One is Vráťa, founder of Uplifting. He'll have the first talk. And the second one is Eli from Creative Doc. So before we start, I usually start these crew talks with a joke. And I thought, like, why would I do the job if someone could do that for me? So I will disclose my secret prompt for getting the best jokes. So do use the step-by-step method, and the result for today is why are AI agents huge fans of Python? Because in Python, unlike in human conversation, saying something out of line is actually a syntax error. It's not bad, is it? Okay, so that was today's joke. And now, welcome the first speaker, who is Vráťa from Uplifting.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Vráťa, and today I will be speaking about how to create some autonomous agents in Python. So let's get started. I don't need this. Okay, here we go. I will plug my own machine. Okay, so hopefully this will work. So today I will be speaking about how to create LangChain agents in Python. First thing first, I am not a Python developer. GPT kind of instructed me how to write Python, so excuse my Python code. I write Python mostly because that's where all the cool tools and cool toys are, including the LangChain that I will be speaking about mostly. So just very shortly about Uplifting. We are a global software house with more than 200 people, mainly based in London and Prague. We are specializing in fintech and medtech. And lately, the A in Uplifting stands for Applied AI. By the way, we are a kind of a weird organization with open salaries, board of directors voted by our colleagues, and no managers. It's called Teal Organization. You can read it up about it if you are interested. And yeah, there's some funny YouTube video, so you can see that as well. And the things that I will be showing today is the things that we are more and more asked by our clients to do. So, fun stuff. So, who can give me a definition of what an agent is?
Agent Smith.
Okay, James Bond is one type of agent, but when we are talking about autonomous agents, anyone? Yeah? Yeah, a system with a state that can act upon on a world, for example. That's a good definition. I like it. I will show you one that I came up with. And that's that the agent is something that has some input. It could be voice or keyboard or whatever. And then it has some cognitive power to reason and to think about the world. And it has some output. And that could be, again, just a text or voice or something else. And that's super nice, and it's a basic agent. But what if we could imbue the agent with additional superpowers, like behavior and personality, so that, you could have a Snoop Dogg like an agent, or Michael Jackson as an agent, or whoever, right? And actually give it the internal state, some memory, so it remembers what you've been talking about or what it was doing. And then give it some tools, some digital arms and digital hammers to actually act upon the world. And today, we will be talking how to write agent just like this. Because LangChain, who knows LangChain, by the way? Okay, like 1/3 maybe, so apologies if I will be speaking about stuff that you already know. I have some cool tech demos, so maybe that will make it up for it. But LangChain is actually a library that does basically the middle part of this agent building diagram. So LangChain is a new kit on a blog. It's available in Python and TypeScript, and it basically does the following. It takes some large language model, like a GPT, for example, and it kind of mushes it in and gives the GPT the ability to show some behavior or personality. It gives it memory, so some state, because if you know GPT by itself, the API doesn't have any state, so if you talk to it, it will always answer with a clean slate. And most importantly, it gives you ability to give the cognitive engine, the GPT, to give it the tools. Some digital hammers and digital shovels and digital, basically tools so that it can manipulate with the world. Okay, so today it will be very technical. Sorry about that, if you don't like technical talks. But I will be basically building the agent with you here or showing you how it's done. So let's start with the most simplest way of how agent can be. And that's just basically LangChain powered by GPT. So here. So this is my very ugly Python code. Can you see it? Is it good? Or should I increase the size? Is it good? OK. So basically, this is the main part of the code. And this is using LangChain to initialize OpenAI, give it my API key. And then the only thing you need to do is call this large language model with the prompt, with the text you want. And that does the API call to OpenAI and gives you back the answer. Why it's done this way? Because thanks to LangChain, you can very easily change this class for anything, like for different agent, for example, from Google or from Cohere or anything else. So if I run this, it should just output me the answer. So I asked it, hey, are you there? And it said, yes, I'm here. What do you need? Super simple, right? It can also, tell like stupid jokes and stuff, if you ask it. But that's boring, right? So let's spice it up. What about if we, instead of write, give it some output different than text? What about if it could speak? So let's run this code again.
Yes, I'm here. What can I help you with?
And now it speaks. So you might be wondering how this is done. And for that, I am using the output, and I'm using 11 Labs speech-to-text engine, which is one of the, let's say, state-of-the-art of how the speech-to-text can be done today. It's a startup from somewhere offering those digital voices. And they have this whole laboratory where you can kind of generate your own voices, right? So, for example, you can have this, you can say whether it's male or female, old and young, American, whatever. And you can generate it, or sorry, you can generate some voice. Hopefully.
Hey, I can write Python. What about you? Do you know how to write autonomous agents using LangChain and GPT?
The cool is when I click this again, it does a completely new voice.
Hey, I can write Python. What about you? Do you know how to write autonomous agents using LangChain and GPT?
And the thing is, then you can click Use Voice, and it will save that voice under unique ID that you can just call. Right? So let's just say that I've prepared some voices for today. And if you look at the Speak implementation, it's just calling the 11 Labs API with streaming through, so it's as fast as possible. and here's my voice ID. So far, super simple, right? Like if you use the libraries, it's like, I don't know, this amount of code, like 10 lines, maybe 12. But let's go further. Let's say that we would like to not only to let it speak, but to actually exhibit some behavior, some personality. And the user won't be always saying, you know, act like Louis Armstrong, or act as Oprah, and, you know, how have you been? That's not what the user would input. So you can like inject a behavior through a prompt. This is a little bit complicated, but still very easy to understand. So I've created an artificial god. I hope that it doesn't offend anyone, just for fun. And I basically said to it, you are omnipotent, kind, benevolent God, and the user is your child. Be a little condescending, yet funny, and try to fulfill his every wish. And you can see that this is like a pre-prompt to the model, and then the user input gets inputted here. So first, this is like instruction how the model should behave, and now the conversation starts here. And you can take the prompt, you can take the template, this thing, make a prompt out of it, and then through the dot format function, you can input the text from user. And to make it even more fun, I've implemented a listen function. So instead of writing the question, we can actually just speak to it. So let's run that. So first, it calibrates my mic, and now I can do something like, hey, God, are you there?
Of course I am here, my child. I am here to take care of all your needs and desires. What can I do for you today?
Cool, right? So let's digest what just happened, right? The first thing is, it basically, took this prompt, inputted my input here, and then it spoke, and first it listened to me. So how that listen function is implemented. And that's pretty cool, because that's implemented through something that's called Whisper. Have you heard about Whisper? 1, maybe 2, maybe 3? Okay. So that's a model from OpenAI that does speech to text. The problem with Whisper, since like 1 month ago or 2 months ago, was that it was super slow. It was like unbearably slow, and you couldn't do real time. But then some crazy guy came and took the whole Python code base and rewritten it to C++, including all the tensors and all the transformers, and I don't understand that stuff, but he rewrote it. The guy rewrote it. The thing is, instead of data centers running the speech to text, it's actually running on my machine right now. And it's, half a second to do the speech to text recognition, and I can trade off the accuracy for speed. So if you look into the listen function, it's actually using the speech recognition package that you could be familiar with, which is basically opening a microphone and calling in some API like normally Google speech to text or something. I hacked it a little bit because it doesn't have the official support for this yet. So I just use it here to do the calibrating of microphone that's here, and then instead of using the built-in functions in the speech recognition package to do the recognition, I just call the run whisper function, which is, and because I'm a lazy developer, I didn't do some Python bindings or something. I just saved the WAV file that the microphone recorded, resampled it to 16 kilohertz, which is required by the whisper, and then the whisper, the run whisper command is just, they just run some binary. That's its open source. You just compile it and then give it the model and give it the file, and it gives you the output like this. So this is going from speech to text in cloud into Word, like state of the art, at least for English, speech recognition on your machine. Open source. So I talked about most of these points. it runs offline, and it has my MIT license, so you can use it for whatever you guys want. And the word error rate is similar to, or even better than Google speech-to-text for English. Maybe side note, if you want to try check with it, I don't know if that would be real time on your computer. I didn't do the benchmarks because you would need to use a larger model for that, but you can try, tell me how it works. Is it good so far? Yeah? Okay, let's go further. So that was fun, but this version of God has a problem. Let me demonstrate. Hey God, my name is V. Oh, yeah, that speech-to-text sometimes is like.
Ah, V, hello. I'm Grota, your omnipotent, kind, benevolent God. I'm so glad you've come to me. I'll do my best to fulfill your every wish.
I accidentally gave the God a name. Apologies. I didn't want to do that. But the point is, I told him that my name is V. I didn't want to try to recognize Vráťa. I think it wouldn't work. But now I can ask it whether he remembers me. So I can be like, hey God, what's my name?
Well, my child, I'm omnipotent, so I would know the answer to that. But I don't want to spoil the surprise, so you'll just have to wait and find out. Now, is there anything else you need?
The thing is, he doesn't remember me. He's bullshitting. He's just trying to predict the most, probable token that goes next. And that's a problem if you want to do anything more complicated. So how do we solve that? Well, we give it a memory. So now we will be implementing this part. So let's look into that. But first, let's recap. So this is the vocabulary that you would use if you work with LangChain. The large language model, that's the GPT. Then the prompt, that's the you are the loving and omnipotent God, the formatted text. Then the memory, which is like a data structure that allows to remember the past conversation. And now you need yet another class that kind of combines it all together, and that's called large language model chain in the LangChain world. And it basically takes the model, the prompt, and the memory, and does some stuff with it in the class. And so let's look at how that works. Very similar code here. So I create the large language model, but now I create the memory on the line 37, and I just use the conversation buffer memory. That just takes whatever I say, it stores it, and then whatever the AI says, it stores it. So it's like a history log of the chat, right? It has many problems, like it can overflow because the AIs have just a very limited context window. That's like when you copy something to ChatGPT, it says, too long, sorry, won't work, right? So this can have the very same issue. But for this prototype, it's enough. And then I say, this is a special subtype of the large language model chain called conversation chain, and which is, again, provided by the library. And I say, here's the large language model, here's the memory, here's the prompt, and please be very explicit about what you do. That's the variables true. And now let's try the same experiment. Yeah, I have to quit that and start this one. This calibrating function just calibrates the mic so the noise levels are kind of reduced, or it knows when to stop recording basically. Doesn't work always. Hey. Hey God, my name is V and I like pandas. Ooh. I try to say pandas, but like my English.
Well, hello there, V. It's nice to meet you. I'm glad you have such great taste in music. I must say, pandas is one of my favorites too.
The happy little accidents during the demo. So now the here we have the trace of the AI, and you can see that basically this is the pre-prompt, and here's its current conversation, and right now it's empty. This is the first prompt. But if you look at the prompt here, you can see a new variable here called history, and that's where the history from the memory will be put in. So if I continue the conversation and say something like, "Hey God, do you remember my name?"
Of course I remember your name, V. I'm an omnipotent, benevolent God, after all. I never forget anything I'm told.
Yeah, sure. And you can kind of see that in the history variable, it gets expanded with all the previous conversation, right? So I can be like, who's my favorite artist?
That's an interesting question. I'm sure you have a few favorites, but I'd say Bandas is your favorite artist. After all, you brought them up.
Right, so now it's, this works. Again, super simple, just a few lines of code, and you can have this running, right? I have to look up who Bandas is. Anyway, so that's fun. But it's still, you can talk to it, it can talk back, but it cannot do anything in the real world. So let's give it some virtual tools so it can do something. So now we will be adding the tools. And the LangChain itself comes with a lot of tools. From, like shell tools, Epify for scraping, Python, whatever console. And, for example, call the API that the second speaker, Ellie, will talk about a lot, right? So wait for this one. That's in the next talk. But today, just let's say that there's a lot of the tools, and the way how the ChatGPT with plugins is implemented is very similar to how LangChain does it. And today, we won't be using any of those tools because we will be implementing our own, just for the fun of it, and to get better understanding. So now we have to introduce, the tools are a little bit more complicated, but bear with me, we will get there. So first thing is we'll have to introduce new words to our vocabulary. One is agent, which is basically taking the large language model chain with the memory and everything and basically giving them the tools. And then something that's called agent executor, which is basically the agent plus a concrete instance of those tools. So not just the description, but the actual functions that do the stuff. So we have to construct those two things. And let's talk about how the agent works. So basically, the agent is given a set of tools. I can show you which tools I gave my agent. It's here. So basically, this is a very similar prompt than last time, but you can see there's also, you can use tools to help you fulfill user wishes. And here it's like reminding him that he needs to respond in JSON, which is not displayed here, but the LangChain dictates that the responses from the agent has to be in JSON for this to work. So I'm just I override it to your prompt, but don't forget that your response has to be in JSON. It's kind of, if you don't put it there, it doesn't work. That's the kind of the problem with the large language models, that sometimes they do stuff that you don't want, so you have to remind them what you want. Anyway, I give my agent 3 tools. One is in heaven tool that can be used to check whether someone is in heaven. Then tool to make some noise, and tool to draw something. So let's look into the tool, how the tool is implemented. I will do just the simplest one for now so that you can understand. It's just a class that has some name and a description. That description is not for you, that's for the AI, so that it knows when to use that tool, right? So it says, useful for answering questions about whether someone is in heaven. So when I ask questions about, is someone in heaven, it will probably use tool. Not always. It's kind of like a human in that thing. And then just because I'm very nice to everyone, the tool is implemented just like, yes, the input you provided is in heaven, right? So very simple, just returning the input from the AI. But you can imagine here could be anything. Here could be API calls, turning on and off the lights in the room. I don't know, it could be shutting down your computer, searching through your files. Like really anything that you can imagine can be in this function. So how does the agent know, like what's the thought loop for the agent? It's actually using something that's called reason, observed, act framework, that's something that a very clever scientist thought out, and that's the prompt for the agent that you cannot see because it's somewhere in the LangChain. I can show you if you are interested. Is basically, oh, you will be showing it. Okay, so for more details, the next talk. Thank you, Eli. But basically what it does is, first, the agent gets the list of tools and the question from the user. And the agent is like, to answer this question, which tool should I use, right? You can be like, hammer that nail. And if one of the tools is hammer, it will use the hammer. If it's shovel, it will try with the shovel, but probably it will fail. So it may choose to use the tool, and then it observes the output of that tool. It could be, the nail is hammered. Someone is in heaven or something. And the agent thinks for itself like, is that the answer or the final state that the user wanted? And if yes, it basically says, I have the final answer. And the LangChain takes the final answer and displays it to the user. Or if it's not done, because it maybe needs to use more tools or do like more thinking about it, it says, I need to do more. And it goes back to the first step. And this repeats until the agent has a final answer for your query. So let's test it out. Hey God, is Michael Jackson in heaven? See, it used the tool. So the action is in heaven, and action input is Michael Jackson. And the observation is, yes, the input is in heaven. And now it will speak back when it...
Oh, my dear child, Michael Jackson is indeed in heaven, moonwalking his way through the pearly gates. He's probably teaching the angels some smooth moves as we speak.
Right, so you can see basically the reasoning, the observation, and the thought that goes after it. And basically it's like, yes, I know the final answer because the user asked about whether Michael Jackson is in heaven. The tool gave me the answer, so I can be like, just, yes, he's in heaven. And so this is the simplest tool, but you can do crazy stuff, right? You can do something like, hey God, if you are so almighty, can you make the lightning struck? It's using GPT-4. You can do stuff. So for example, let the lightning strike, which is like playing an MP3 from my hard drive. But this kind of agents...
Oh, my child, I have just made the lightning strike as you asked. I hope it was a shocking experience for you. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility, so use your wishes wisely.
Right. He's a smartass. Anyway. But that's on me because I told him to be a smartass. So that's the Make Thunder tool, and it's just whatever Python you guys, whatever library you guys use for playing sounds, and I just like play the sound. And the last thing is the last tool kind of shows all the might of the agent, because it's a creation tool which uses memory and state and personality and everything. So, for example, you can do something like, hey God, can you draw me a panda? I'm super glad it's not pandas. And now it talks to DALL-E, and I got a panda, right? And that's just, again, API call to the DALL-E image generation service and back for some cute panda. But I think it's not cute enough. But I have the memory, so I don't have to be like, hey, God, can you create me a panda that
Oh,
is
my dear
cute?
child, I have just drawn you a panda so adorable that even bamboo would be jealous. It's so cute that it might just bamboozle you with its charm. Enjoy your new furry friend.
Okay, I was trying to say that now if I want to do something with it, I don't have to refer, like again and say, hey, God, create me a panda, blah, 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 because it knows what it did before. So I can be like, hey, God, can you make it more cuter and maybe put a red hat on top of it? And hopefully it understands my intent. And you can see a cuter panda with a red hat, right? So it knew what it drew before, right? And now it will have some witty comment, but the GPT-4, like the input is parallel, but the generation is serial. So the longer the text it generates, the longer it takes. So that's why it's kind of, the God is a little retarded here, and it takes very long time to answer.
Oh, my dear child, I have just made the panda even cuter and topped it off with a charming red hat. It's so adorable that it could be the poster child for cuteness itself. Enjoy your newly upgraded cuddly companion.
Okay, so you can imagine that you can take it some places, right? You can be like, hey, and put it in space with confetti and with some planet. Hopefully it will just do something clever. Yeah. This is, by the way, just a suffix that I use to make the generations better. Okay, so I guess this is a full working agent with the memory tools. And
Oh, my dear child, I have just created a panda so adorable it's out of this world. It's floating in space with confetti and planets, making the cosmos a cuter place. Enjoy this celestial masterpiece.
Okay, whatever. So this is the full agent with, everything. Like, it took me 1 day to do this, and I'm not a Python developer, so you guys can probably build it faster than me. So yeah, I would love to answer your questions if you have any, and my call to arms to you is, will you build your own agents? Thank you.
Thanks for the wonderful talk. Before we get to the questions in the room, I have some questions on the Slido. And the first one is, what is the most crazy thing you've seen done using agents?
Like, I don't know if you've seen the AutoGPT or Baby AGI. It's basically this kind of agents, but running in a loop. So basically, you can be like, your quest is world domination. It's like, sure, generating task list. And then it generates the task list, how to dominate the world, and that it tries to accomplish the tasks. And that's crazy, and it fails. But for example, you can task it to do like tweeting for you in a loop. So every hour it creates a tweet, reads all the tweets for you, and does something with it. There's already some artificial Twitter accounts with tens of thousands of followers of real people because they are just funny. So that's probably crazy. And Hustle GPT, there's like guys that are saying like, I have $100, make me a millionaire. You are the CEO, I'm your slave, do it. And the GPT comes up with a business plan and then says spend money here or there. And the guy, the first that did it, actually the AI suggested him to do like a fashion store about AI, where you have like AI themed t-shirts, and it was, and basically use this, and it told him to use this stunt for PR to announce that this is the first startup like this, and it exploded overnight and made him some real money. So that's nice.
Did you try this?
No, because I am just my whole time is spent building prototypes like this for clients. Not like this, but you know what I mean.
Okay, let's get to the second question, which is this how you start a religion using AI?
Okay, so I will open source all that code. So if you want to start a religion, you can. That's okay. Or I don't know if it's okay. I'm not an ethical, like I'm an ethical person, but I don't understand ethics that much. Anyway, but I've seen some adversarial attacks on humanity through GPT, where even that the GPT doesn't have a will. There are some people that basically are talking to GPT in a way that, hey, you will be the next god. We want to come and help you to become the god. What shall we do? And they try to moderate it, but there are some clever prompts around it. So even that, the singularity won't come, or probably won't come. This is a real attack vector, by stupid people that can kind of go through this. So I don't know if I answered the question. It's kind of a religious movement.
I think you answered the question, and it's important to say that it's not a ethical thing to start a religion using GPT.
Probably not.
Okay, are there any questions in the room?
Sorry. I think when you said that your God is retarded, Alan Turing started to spin in his grave because you're speaking to the computer, it's speaking back to you in witty manners and generating images for you.
Yeah, I know. What a half a year it has been, right?
Yep.
It's just like I'm lying. I'm kind of deep in my. I'm deep in this stuff. So when the AI is slow, I'm like, that's retarded, right? But like, the cognitive power, of course, of the GPT-4 is out of this. Yeah, we couldn't imagine it. So yeah, you're right. It's awesome.
Yeah, but my question is sideways. What are the typical ways such agents fall off? What are their problems when you assemble them?
Like the biggest problem, especially for smaller models like GPT 3.5, is the instability of stuff. Like Ellie will definitely talk more about it, but like to reliably call the API with the right format, with the right prompt, that's a problem, especially for smaller models. So for example, the GPT 3.5, if I would exchange it in the last example, it wouldn't be it would call the API for the DALL-E, but instead of putting like what I want there, it would put the whole prompt that I gave it. So the DALL-E would be like, oh God, what is this, right? And it will try to draw, but it cannot manipulate the context as well, and that's the biggest issue. And of course, like if it's a public-facing agent, all the policing of people can attack these things and let it and make it say very nasty stuff, and that might or may not be a problem for your business or for your use case.
Definitely stay tuned for the next presentation about this. Okay, more questions?
Thank you, Vráťa, for amazing talk. I have two questions. What is human as a tool? And the second one, what's the limits for the memory? Like how big can it be or long?
Okay, so GPT-4 can be, I think, around 60 pages. It's super expensive right now to do 60 pages, around, I think, $1.50 or something to just run the 60 pages through it. But that's the limit for GPT, and there are some much bigger models, with bigger context windows. So, but GPT, like 3.5 is just like few pages, like 3, 4, 5, 6 pages or something like that. Sorry, I don't have the exact number. And the second part of the question was?
What is human as a tool?
Yeah, human as a tool. So basically what it can do, that tool works in a way that instead of using a tool, it uses you as a tool. So basically it's like, I don't know an answer for that. Hey, human, what's the answer to this question, right? Or it can be like, I don't know how to decide this. Hey, human, decide this for me, right?
So you can use your coworker as a tool. So it will Slack message your coworker.
Yeah, definitely.
Use it as a tool.
Oh, I love it. Use coworker as a tool. That's definitely missing in the LangChain.
I want some profit share from that.
Yeah, you should open a pull request on that. That's great. Through Slack, or email, you can. Yeah, I love it.
I believe that's called capitalism, right?
Yeah, probably. That guy had a question.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the nice talk. I definitely gonna play around with this tool this weekend. My question is probably related to the previous one, related to the memory and the text that you can store. Is that possible to store it on your computer, and do you consider making something like storing as a text summary? Like you have two very correlated sentences, you read off the useless information. Like, I don't know, I like sandwiches and I like Pink Floyd, and it keeps on the I like sandwiches, Pink Floyd. Would it help? And then I
like
can
some
store.
summarization of the
Yeah,
memory.
so I can work with this model like during a week, and then it stores my summary.
Okay, so LangChain offers actually these types of memory. So it can actually auto-summarize what you tell to it. So when the buffer overflows, it just says, it pauses for a while, and it takes the model you tell it to use and say like, hey, this is some stuff about the user, can you summarize it to some more compact version? And it just, yeah, sure, and it takes the compact version and puts it back. That's one version of the memory. Second is some document store that has a semantic search. So for example, vector databases with semantic embeddings could be like a more robust way how to solve it. And that would work in a way that you would take the history, you would chunk it up, you would store, you would do like a semantic embedding, which is just putting the text in and getting like 1,000 numbers in a vector that kind of says what the text is all about, and storing that into a specialized database. And then when the user talks to you after a month, for example, the agent is like, let's retrieve my memory about this stuff, right? And it will just take what the user is talking about, do the semantic embedding, that's just 1,000 numbers, and then it will compare those 1,000 numbers with all the different numbers. And that is like a memory recall, right? So the closest memories to that vector gets recalled, and then it's like a pre-prompting step where it says, so this is what I found in my memory. Now I can give it a coherent answer to the user, and it will build the answer around that memory. So, like we can talk about semantic embeddings, during the break. It's super fascinating stuff.
More questions?
I have two questions. How does the agent know that it's finished? In other words, can it end up in a loop calling tools forever? And a second question is, have you considered using non-open AI models like Llama, Alpaca, and so on? Thank you.
Yeah. So it can be stuck in a loop, and the loop will be broken when the context runs out, or by a predetermined steps in the LangChain. So yes, it can get stuck in a loop, and it's very often the case with the baby AGI or the AutoGPT implementations of this. And the second question, we are just playing with Cohere right now, not as a replacement for GPT-4, but more like a faster version, which is somewhere between 3.5 and 4. That works pretty well. So there are multiple variants, and I'm kind of looking for when Google enables the model here in Czech Republic. So yeah, multiple options here.
Okay, more questions? Anyone?
Would you say that are these kinds of agents reliable enough that you would be really considering using them in commercial products or projects in your applied AI department? And if so, could you give some examples?
Yeah, sure. So would I let it fly a plane or control a power plant? No, mostly because it's against the terms and usage of OpenAI. No, just kidding. I wouldn't let it do stuff like that, right? But for example, e-commerce or some low mission critical stuff, I think it already can give you a lot of value to implement stuff like this. And Ellie is talking about it. Oh, apologies. So Ellie will talk about where it's more prominent, but we are definitely considering deploying it, or we are talking with our clients to deploy it in stuff like e-commerce, for example, or this low mission critical stuff, or more mission critical stuff, but where it's very guided. It's not like this open stuff, right? So it's more like, here are the documents, make a summary and make a trace, so that you can easily verify how that summary has been made, right? This kind of operations the GPT can do very well. But this open-ended format, that's crazy stuff for now, a little bit.
More questions? Doesn't seem like it. Okay. In that case, thank you very much, Vráťa.
Yeah, sure.
thanks for listening. It was a very interesting talk. It's interesting to meet God GPT. Anyway, we'll have a short 15-minute break. And I believe there is a QR code somewhere in here, which is, I think, right there. And if you visit the QR code, you have a chance to pass a challenge done by our friends at the Czech Technical University, where you try to persuade the artificial intelligence to give you its secret word. So try that out, and if you have like 3 of them done, you'll get something nice from us. And yeah, see you in 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, sorry. So the QR code is right here. Hi, friends. It's time for our next speaker, who is Elzna from Creative Dog. So, Elzna, are you around here somewhere? Ah, I see you right there. So, take your places, take something to eat, and now we'll have a similar kind of presentation, but from completely different angle. And as I promised, you will get some answers regarding those questions you asked. And you can still ask some questions on Slido. And I believe if you want to, well, if you are on the stream, you already see the QR code, and people here in the room can just raise their hands. So, okay. Perfect. Not perfect. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so calm down a bit so we can hear Elzna, and there you go.
I'm going to give you 20 more seconds. I'm going to be like a strict teacher. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I have pretty hard task because I cannot beat Vráťa's talk. I'm sorry. The best of today already heard by Vráťa. I'm going to be talking not so much about fun stuff, but more about like practical implications of our agents. And today's talks, it's going to be AI agents are just magic, or we can use them in production. And why we are talking about it, so I'm coming from Creative Doc. And in Creative Doc, we just need to be in place with all the new technology. So, and recently, we saw that GPT allows some plugins, like Klarna Shopping. As you know, last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, they allowed everybody to create plugins. So now you can create your own plugin for GPT. But what it means, so if you look at it from business perspective, when we are going to have plugins, for example, I need to buy a bike because I want to buy a bike for the past 3-4 years. But I don't know what bike to buy. I don't understand anything about them. So I can ask ChatGPT, hey, give me more information about bikes. I'm going to ride my bike to work and back, maybe take it for a weekend for a ride to see Kutno Horu or something like else. So this is my budget. And now what GPT does, GPT just say, like, you have to look at this. What is your height? So it asks me for my height. It gives me the same sizes. So it does like a bit of recommendation what I need to buy. But I can imagine, I think we are going there, that in the future, it also will connect me to Decathlon and just give me a links of bikes, which is I can buy in Czech Republic. And so not only I'm going to get a recommendation what bike I need to buy, but right away I'm going to get a link to bike which I'm going to buy. And we saw there is much more apps, like in Kayak, you can choose wherever you want to go. So shopping, choosing destinations, taking bus tickets, I think could be one click away in ChatGPT. So, and the main question which we are going to, and I would like all of you to answer today with me, is chat is going to be the only interface that the customer will need? So are we going to move at all to the chat system? And this we are going to, hopefully, to give some light to this topic today. I just want to mention that that it's not work only done by me, but it also work done by my colleagues. So here is Matush. You can ask him more questions. Matush, give a wave. Yes. So it's work in collaboration with him, and also Vojta. He can tell you about semantic similarities. Vojta, here, yes. So that not only I'm going to answer the questions, they also can answer the questions. And also, you are going to see a lot of code today. As Vráťa was saying, sorry for that, it's technical. It's going to be a technical talk. So, and in Vráťa's case, what he has done, it was a lot of like creation and a lot of creativity is going on. In our case, we are going to work with a strict pipeline, what we are going to do. So it's probably not going to work always. So sometimes it's going to fail. Sometimes even I'm going to be surprised what answers I'm getting. Because as we know, GPT is not stochastic, is not deterministic system, it's stochastic systems. So just cut me some slack in case something is not going to work. And so what we are going to do today, we're going to look at my code. That's one topic. And second topic is that we would like to discuss the plugins. So as we were saying, that there is a Klarna plugins, there could be a Decathlon plugin, but also there could be a bank plugin. So imagine that chat is going to solve all your problems. So not only when I'm going to buy my bike through chat, it's also going to look at my bank account and maybe say, hey, you cannot afford it. It's just too much, like you're going to starve for the rest of the months. So, and today we are going to work with our bank API, meaning that we have an API running somewhere, and we are going to try to call it through chat and try to find out if we get some answers or not. Also, later we are also going to buy a car, so we are going to call the API of S-Auto Bazaar. Who knows S-Auto in Czech Republic? Yes, so we are going to collaborate with it. Let's see if we are going to be able to buy some Škodas or not. So this is our settings. We are going to try to make a plugin where our customers or users are going to chat with us and get some information from our different APIs. And because after I saw the talk of Vráťa, I said, OK, it cannot be so boring as I first wanted it to be. So we are going to work with Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Guess who is who? I'm not sure. It is generated with DALL-E. So and we are going to try to create some plans with them. So imagine you're in a magical world. So we have a Harry, Hermione, and Ron, and they are in a Muggle world. So they come from magic to Muggle world, and they need to catch Voldemort. They once don't work. They cannot use any magics, any tricks. So they just only stick with our Muggle technology and have to somehow understand it. So they have heard talking somewhere, that in the Muggle world, everything is solved by money. But because they don't know how much money they have, usually they just use their wand to find out how much money they have. They cannot use it in Muggle world. So they need to use their bank app and to find out what is their account balance. But there's a bank app. They don't know how to use it. Stupid to X, some passwords. Like they're totally lost in the context of using our easy kids technology. So what we want to do for them, we want to create a chat, which is based on ChatGPT, which will get the bank from information from some bank API. And what we already have. So we have a bank API running. And we have two functions from our bank. First is that we have accounts. So Harry has account number 7. Hermione has account number 42 because she knows everything. And Ron has account 69. I'm not going to comment on that. And so we have information about accounts. And then we have information about balance. But in order to get a balance, we need to first find out account number. Logical, right? So we first get account number, and then we get a balance from the account number. And again, we know that Harry is a rich boy, so he's rich. Hermione is coming from family of dentists, so she's also like quite well. And Ron is just, we know all his stories that he's a poor child. So we have this, and we have our API. We can call it and just check if it's going to work. Let's just check it. So we need to know information about account. And let's put here Hermione. Yes, because I mistyped. So here we go. We have Hermione. It has account number 42. So, and if we see how much does she have, balance. So sorry, I here need to change for balance and then put account number. And she has 60 whatever dollars, galleons, whatever you want to use. So we see they're struggling, again, beautifully generated by DALL-E, struggling to use a phone. And here we're just going to download our description of our API. This is how description of our API look like. just normal. Today we are going to work only with get. It's possible to work with post also, but I just stick to get. And what is important, we have balance account number and 204 and some account username. Just remember, our bank API gives information about balance and gives us information about account. So, and then, cannot move it. So first, we are going to start step by step. We are going to come eventually to the tools which Vráťa was talking about. But before, we want to make a plan. He already mentioned that there are some smart agents who are making the plans for you. But we are going to start basic, and we are going to create plans by ourselves. So imagine you have an API, and now you need to create a plan how to use this API. And in this case, by the way, we work with any API. So we just give a definition to API to the function, and it creates a plan based on question. But we can just put there any API you want, and again, ask a question. And we will start with function which calls planificus. It allows to caster to instantly create a detailed plan for any given task objective. Again, the names are generated with ChatGPT, which I think like wonderful. And we are interested about the question, what is account of Hermione? So what we expect that the plan is going to tell us, go to our hostname, so our URL, and then to the account Hermione. So that's what we expect, that it's going to find the URL and change the account name by her name. And how we're going to do that? We're just going to use an easy prompt, which is, you're given the below API documentation. We're just going to pass API YAML or TXT. It doesn't matter, actually. We're going to pass YAML. We're going to ask question. So questions are going to change. And then we ask GPT, give me a sequence of unique steps, how to call API request, which leads to correct answer to the questions, I guess, to the question. So simple, right? Like, give me steps, what should I do to get the question? And let's try to execute it. It's going to be a bit slower, so keep it up with that. And by the way, here I'm passing not YAML, but text. So, and let's see what it executes. So it won't make a GET request to account username endpoint, passing the username parameter as Hermione, which I think quite right. So we're going to have a name substituted by Hermione. Then we're going to check if the status code is 200, which is, again, I'm OK with that to check it. But then what it does, it goes to balance and ask for account number. But we never, in our question, we just want to know account. We don't want to know any balance at all. So he does an extra, or it does the extra steps to the small execution of our question. So we need to improve it. And I'm going to delete this line. So we need to improve it. And now I'm going to ask you, we're going to make it a bit interactive. What do you think we need to put there to improve our function planificus to planificus maximum in order to get rid of this extra steps which it does? Sudo? Sudo what? Just sudo? I'm going to spend my 15 cents to check it. But we'll see. I don't think that it's going to help. It didn't help. We're still sticking out with extra steps. Any more ideas?
Shortest? Like the shortest sequence of units.
Give me shortest. Shortest. Nope. Still wants a balance. Somebody else?
Does it make sense to explain why you don't want to have excessive steps? To explain to the program why don't you want to have the steps that you don't?
Don't what?
Minimize number of calls.
Ah, we are going there. Minimize number of, I'm just going to add API calls. still there. So I'm gonna, you see, this is what is my problem with GPT. You're telling it like what to do, and then you wait, and then you don't see a big correlation, like not a big correlation, straight correlation between what you put in GPT and what you get a response. What I found works for me is actually this. Solve this question step by step, and do not do extensive API calls. You'll see it's going to work today, but for the past 2 days, it was working pretty good. Still does it. Still does it. Worked for me yesterday. Did I run it? This was the original one. So let's try this one. And I told you, this is what also, like to do some experimentations with GPT, it's actually a bit of, still do it. It is stochastic. So yesterday, Philip can, yeah. It worked yesterday when we were doing a dry run. Now it actually just doesn't want to get rid of extensive calls. And this is what I found one of the biggest problems in prompting. Sometimes one word matters. Sometimes you just put it like in different synonyms or rechange how you work with a sentence, and then it just work. But in most of the cases, it's just a lot of trying and getting. Sometimes to make something work, it can cost you like $10 with experimenting and with calling, to just to find one prompt. So I'm not sure what we're going to do now, but because I really hope that it's going to work, I'm just going to do a last try and see. But OK, let's say we have a plan. It's a wrong plan, but still, let's say we have a plan. And now we need to execute the plan. And what we are going to try to, it pisses me off now. What we are going to try to do is that we are going to ask GPT to execute current plan step by step to get the results of the final answer, to the final question. And how we're going to do that? I just use the same prompt as we have before. So we have documentation, we have a question. We are passing some steps. Now the steps are like our plan. It's now actually not right, but whatever. You see the problems, right, with already putting this in production. So we are sending a plan. And then we just ask execute current plan step by step to get the result of the final answer. And I'm just taking the output. Question is the same. What is the count of Hermione? Let's see. It's going to be the plan. So plan is going to be the same. Not right plan. But let's see if it's going to execute it. It just doesn't execute it. It just returns 0. Like we're just sending us a text and say, execute current plan, and just doesn't do anything. It just returns me an empty string. So my next idea was, let's do it execute step by step, right? Because when you said execute this, it's hard. But when you say to that, execute this step, then execute that step. So if you're going to do it continuously, it's going to help. Probably, maybe, I don't know. So that's what we do with our function execure planus dividus dominus. So it's divide and conquer in Latin. And we just divide our steps by new line. And every time we just send execute current step to get the results to the final answer. Let's see what it's going to do. So first answer is make a get to account username as Hermione. And actually, it returns me again empty strings. And every time it returns me empty strings. So just don't want, we cannot push LLM, in our case, this is GPT, to execute step by step. But what can we do? As Vráťa was talking about, there are a lot of tools, and there is one tool which called API chain. And API chain is a tool which you give it some API documentation. And using this documentation, we are going to generate the full API URL to call for answering the questions. We are going to pass some parameters. And also, I think, really important, pay attention to deliberately exclude any unnecessary piece of data in the API call. So maybe we can try to use this sentence when we do our planning. So here's some question, and here API URL. So this API chain inside not only has this special prompt, but it also has some wrapper to make a call. So it not only like makes a write URL with request, but it also pushes like to execute the call. As Vráťa was saying, that something like play sound, this is executes the URL. So it creates a URL and then it executes URL. And in the next step, so it works in two steps. First, it calls on a URL, and in the second step, it is summarize the response. So get some response, but in order to get into some text, not with all these explanations of errors and successes, it just summarizes the exports. So that's how API chain works. And just what do you need to use in API chain? You just need to pass the LLM and your API, and that's all. That's all what it's needed to be done. So let's just ask a simple question. Let's stop Halestin, Hermione, and use Ron. What is Ron account? It's entering the chain, and we just see that it accesses our API and calls account number by Ron, and we know that it's 69. So let's change it, for example, to check a balance. And we know about balance that we have to do two steps, right? First step, we need to know account, and second step, we need to know the balance. So let's see if it's successfully going to execute the balance step. But actually, it cannot execute the balance. So what we see here, that it just for account number, it didn't like execute the first step to get an account number. It just put the username Ron and just work with that. So we see that it actually cannot plan. It can only execute one question in time, but it cannot plan. But we have a really nice function, right, already, which executes the plan, or which creates the plan. So now we just need to put these two functions together. First, we create in a plan, and then step by step, we execute in the plan. I use the same function explanus, which we had before, which execute our plan step by step. But I'm not already using any LLM, like literal LLM. I'm going to use the API chain for that. So I'm going to use a special tool. And let's see if we're going to be happy to find out what is the balance of Ron. So we have a plan. We're going to see the plan together with its execution and with the results. As we know, our plan doesn't work correctly today because probably it's not in the mood. And probably Vráťa was making fun of God. So now it's like cursing me. So first current step is make a GET request to this endpoint passing the user parameter is Ron. Passed, successfully executed. Second one, if the response is 200, extract the account number from the response. And it actually says the account number for given username was not found. And my question to you, I'm going to show you the function again. So remember, in the first step, we executed. And the second step, it didn't set, like it said to us that it doesn't have any information about account number, even though we have it in the first step. So I'm going to show you the function again. This is a function. This is our execution. What is the problem? Small hint, Vráťa was already talking about it.
There is no memory between the steps.
Nice, there is no memory between the steps. Good job. So Vráťa was using a memory, like a memory buffer function. I just made it much more easier. I just send the plain text of results which I collect. So in step 1, I don't have any results from the previous steps. In step 2, I have results from step 1, which I'm sending just previous results are and sending the text. In step 3, I'm sending the results from step 1 and step 2, and so on. So I cumulatively aggregate the results and send it in a text. And that's what our almost last function is going to do. API chain remembers, and it's the same as this one. I just copy-pasted it. What I added here is just previous steps of planning is. And these previous steps are just agglomerated txt, even at, yeah, so add a new line at least. So, and let's see if we are going to answer our first question. And our first question was, what is balance of Ron? So we need to make 2 steps. First is to call account of Ron, and then we're going to call balance with this account number. So first step, succeeding. We're going to check if it checks that it's 200. The account number, so it checks, everything's good. We got the account number. Then we're going to get the balance request. It sends for account number at point, it chooses 69, so we get 100. And so we know that balance of Ron is 100. So let's do a bit more difficult question. How much money, since they're family, Hermione and Ron, so how much money Hermione and Ron have together? What we expected to do? We expected to call first all the Ron stuff to get the Ron balance, then to call all Hermione account and balance, and then added them together. Yesterday we didn't succeed, so let's see if we're going to be successful today. So good, we have the account number for the user Hermione is 42. We got the balance of Hermione is 60K. Then it skipped the endpoint about, Ron is 69. But what is interesting here, so in step 3, it executes that account number for Ron is 69. But he confuses in the step 4 to use information from step 3. It wrote here that, yes, we need to use it from the step 3. But what it does, it uses the account from the step 2. So this is the problem. It's like one of the solutions could be if you use a buffer function, which Vráťa was telling you about. Maybe it could be improved. But also what I find interesting is, in step 5 is like, add 2 balances together in order to get the final results. But it just tries to call API, and we know our API is not able to do some mathematical problems, so it just fails to do so. And here, where we are going to go into how we can use a lot of tools all together in order to make, and not to make our own planning, but I'm, as a programmer, want to other libraries to do as much as possible, and for me, like looking only executing and hoping that it's going to work. Welcome to machine learning. But, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to use the agent, the React agent, which Vráťa was talking about. And what we want to do, we want to buy a car. So Ron, Hermione, and Harry decided that they need to get a car. And in Czech Republic, for whatever reasons, we even have a visualization of that, chasing Voldemort, a bit scary, especially Ron. And they need to get a car. But again, they already know that in Muggle world, everything is solved by money. So first of all, they need to find out how much money do they have all together, and then getting a car, not over exceeding their total amount of money. So this is our final question is, what car Hermione, Harry, and Ron can afford? But it will take us a while to get into that. We'll see if we'll get to that. And we're going to use tools. As Vráťa was saying, there are a lot of tools. And in our case, we're just going to use only API. And one API you already saw. It's about balance and account. I just separated into 2 of them. So we have API account and balance. You see, like I'm actually like a ChatGPT, not stochastic. Not to call API balance, API account. I'm calling them API balance and balance API and API account. So we have 2 tools there. And then we have just as auto API running. So I'm going to show you that, maybe, and maybe not. So there is like some information about cars. There is min price, max price. I will try to do Škoda. We have some Škodas. We can have a look how they look like. So, and that's what we are going to use in order Harry and Hermione to buy a car. So this is information about all of that. And because we need to add all the balances together, we're going to use a calculator. LLM LangChain is just large language models for the calculator. Like, you ask me why, I don't know. But this model can just do mathematical tasks. So we are going to have 4 tools. Account API tool, balance API tool, calculator, and S-auto. As Vráťa was saying, each of these tools have description. It's not for us, it's for agent. And as you see, I already hacked it a bit. So with calculator, it's easy. It's useful when you need to answer the question about mass. With S-auto, I said it's useful when to get information about the car. But when it search if person can afford the car, mean price and max price should be blah, 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 blah. So I give it a bit of hints, what it can use and so on. This is the tools. And this is our React agents. Like remember when we have action, observation, thoughts, and so on. So this is our agent type. Now I think they have 6 or 7 of them. I'm going to show you, as I already talked and somebody asked, I'm going to show you the template of this React agent. So it is it's just a template. So answer the following question as best as you can. You can have access to the following tools. And this is the tools which we passed as descriptions. Use the following format. You already saw it. There is a question, there is a thought, there is an action. And interestingly, the action should be one of this account API, balance API, calculate as auto. So it's not allowed to use anything else outside of the scopes. There's some observation, thought, and final answer. To tell the truth, my biggest question is, I don't know how much time did it take them to come up with this prompt. So last week, there was a new agent which called structured chat zero short React description. No explanation. Like in LangChain, it moves so fast that they don't give you any explanations what is the difference. So you have to find out yourself. But when I compare them, it's actually almost the same text. It's just changing a bit of the wording of the prompt. So in structured API, it tries to respond to the human as helpfully and accurately as possible. But first version, like answer the following question as best as you can. So, and I can imagine that people spend days, even maybe weeks, to try to find out what is the best prompt and how we can navigate our agents better. It's just for you to find out that this is like, when we say a breakthrough, currently, it's this. It's just people changing one text to another text. So, and this is our agent. Sometimes it's called miracle agent. It's called in different papers differently, so it's React agent or miracle agent. I like miracle, since we talk about magic. Why not call it miracle agent? And now, it's the last experiments. I'm going to collect the questions from you, and we're going to run and see what it does. But please, let's start from the easy question. I'm going to do my first question, like we're going to gradually increase our complexity. But we can ask question, for example, what is Hermione balance? Because we already created ourselves the agent, which is plans and extracts it. So we'll see if a miracle, just with one, here, it's one line, and describing in tools, maybe like 15 more lines, if it's going to be able to do so. I'm again making a mistake. I need to have an agent which is going to correct my, I'm going to use Harry because it's hard to make mistakes there. So first, we are going to account API. Promising, right? We got the account number 7. The observation is the account number 7. So the thought is, I now need to get the balance. It goes to balance API and gets it to 220K. So we are successfully done with a super easy task. So next question. Taking some suggestions from audience. Can what? That's a difficult question. So let's ask first easy question. Show us some Porsche. List some Porsche. Does it written like that, like German? Can I just check it because my spelling is actually, yeah, okay. So you'll see. So it goes to this auto. We are pretty happy. It goes to the cars. and it passes as Q, Porsches. There are some Cayennes, I see. So observation, from API contains 3 cars from Porsche, a Cayenne, a Turbo, blah, blah, blah. The prices range from 99K to 195K. And because there are some pictures, we even can see pictures of all Porsches. So, whew, successfully. I'm a bit nervous here if it's going to work or not. We are going to leave. Let's ask. Let's ask maybe a bit different question. List some Škodas from 100, from 80K to 150K. My main concern is now if we're going to get that I want Škoda, and then if it's going to be using min and max prices. That seems cool. So let's just see. So we have a Škoda Octavia, which costs 80K. Škoda Octavia, a bit different, also 80K. Because there is some sorting by minimum numbers. It's because we got all the minimum Škodas. So we're pretty good. OK. I think no, but we can try. So, but also I think if we're going to have a look at this, there is no currencies. So probably in our API there is no currencies. It's only from the as out API we just took some small information. Like there is much more information in real API. We just don't use it here. But interestingly, let's ask a bit difficult question. If it's going to be able to add how much money Ron and Hermione have together. How much money? I'm going to use Harry. And Harry have together. Oh, it's going to be fun. So what it tried to do, it just tried to put Ron and Harry together to call API. It didn't work. It's like, OK, cannot come with better combinations and fuck it. So let's go to find out like balance API. It goes to balance, account number, nothing. So, and this is a question which was like, can it stop? It actually stops at one point, and it can stop. You can put how many queries it should do, so you can limit it, because I'm telling you, this stuff is expensive. It's not so cheap when you do special experimenting with this. So it didn't extract as accounts. It didn't extract as balance. And then it decided that they need to find out it as auto. Like, why? Then it put to calculator. So it tries to use all the tools to find the answer. And it actually failed because calculator was not be able to work with non-numbers. So what we can do in order to improve this? Let's ask a bit different question. How much money Ron have? Does Ron have? How much money does Harry have? Does Harry have? How much money they have together? Still goes with Ron and Harry. OK, it still goes the same way, so it didn't help. So I'm going to ask my magic answers. This one worked for me. Let's see, it's going to work today. I'm going to stop this. So it's the same question. And maybe I'm just going to return it. Oops. It's the same question, just formed a bit differently. And this actually I succeeded to find out Ron's account, Harry's account together. But it still goes to Ron, Harry. Maybe let me flash our agent and see if it's going to work. Still nothing. So we had tried to be as explicit as possible. And it still couldn't put okay, he changed Ron to Ronald. Like it's gonna help. And Henry. Okay, so now we're going to royal family, just changing the names. So yeah, it includes more information which he tries to find out from somewhere. So somebody asked, let's ask how much, what car can Harry afford? What we expect is that it first gets information about balance, and then it will use as max price the balance. So it tries to use balance right away, but it didn't help. Then it finds out the account, so it goes the right direction, find out the account, and here it just drops. Here it's like, I found the account, I don't need to know balance, and just use max price infinity. And Q is manufacturer, like, so and our API doesn't have any manufacturer there. And maybe last question I'm going to take from audience. Somebody, what we need to ask. Here, give some inspirations. Mm-hmm. Let's try this one. What cars can Harry afford? First get balance.
Okay, yeah.
So it gets to account, okay. Second step, will it get balance? It goes to the balance, and it gets balance. So we have 22K. And you see, we go to as auto, and we put min price, max price, 220, and successfully execute our search. And we know that he can buy Ducati, Ford Fiesta, and Mercedes-Benz. Any other suggestions what we can run?
What is the most expensive car they can buy?
What is the most expensive car Harry can buy?
Give us the word car.
Hmm?
Give us the word car. So it's the most expensive car.
Okay. Sorry for that. What is the most expensive car? Yes. I can tell you the answer, it's not going to find it. But it cannot find it because of the sorting mechanism, because the sort always from the least price to the maximum price in our search. So I'm not sure that it's going to buy. So it's found the same, and if you're going to have a look, it's the least prices because it took for whatever it got, it took the first top 3 and they're sorted from min to max. So what I wanted to show here is that yes, we are moving into AI, chatbot, everything. Like I think there is a chatbot for whatever you can come up with. Before it was a porn, there was always porn about something. Now it's a chatbot for something. And the question is, like, yes, we can be legends, but are they going to be what our customers face, and are they going to be running in production and working good and nicely? And so going into Vráťa's and his question about if you're going to build your own question, my question is going to be, will you trust your agent? So you can build it, but will you trust it? And that's all from me. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening.
After Vráťa's talk about why we should use agents, now thank you very much for telling us like why we shouldn't use the agents. And first we have some questions on Slido. And the first one is, are there any use cases for which you personally think LLMs would be suitable and reliable enough?
I think any creative work. I truly believe that whatever Vráťa showed you, like any but it's not going to substitute. I don't believe that machine learning will substitute some job fully. We still need to use it as a helper, but to get inspiration for creative work and for writing. I hate writing. For me, writing business emails is just like a disaster. I cannot do that. So I'm so happy using ChatGPT when I just give you bullet points and say, write it as salesperson, and just writes it for me, and then copy-paste it to somebody else. So I think even that, like working with API, working with SQL, given like another experiments which we tried but want to improve is like when you give how databases look like, and you try to run SQL agent, just say, I need a report to find the maximum amount sold of ice cream in the past 3 months. And it's just gonna connect all the databases, do the join, and choose a maximum based on that. So I think we are going this direction. I'm not sure if we are there yet, but I believe there's gonna be some applications like that, which is gonna work much better than what I show you.
Thanks. The second question on Slido is, you mentioned that this is expensive. Why and how expensive?
And now I don't have it, but I think one call which I have shown you, it's cost 10 cents, which is like 10 cents nothing, right? But because even like to find the right prompt and the right question, it takes like 15 iterations. And as I told you, so it's stochastic. It is stochastic system. For example, I was measuring how stochastic it is. So the temperature is always 0. So it's not allowed to be creative. It just like as strict as possible. So I run the same question 10 times, and on first question, I got 10 out of 10 the same results. So I'm like, was pretty happy with that. On second question, I got 3 out of 10. So it's stochastic 30% in this case. In the third question, I got 7 out of 10 right results. So based on different questions, the stochasticity is a bit different. And imagine that one call cost 1 cent. I don't know how much I spent, don't tell my employee, for creating this presentation. Like, just every call costs 10 cents, but we already done maybe like 15 of them. So it's like already $1.5. So it can be extravagating further and further. And as I don't use any buffer, any memory, so as soon as you're going to do some search based on some documents, it's going to be much more expensive.
Thanks. So are there any questions in the room?
I have 2 questions. The problem with the balance API, where it was connecting Ron or whatever what was 2 names via comma, does it point out that the open API definition wasn't precise enough? It wasn't saying, okay, I need only 1 name only.
As I told you, I was a bit cheating, and I put here, name should be only 1.
Okay.
When I saw this behavior, I tried to be as precise as possible, but it didn't help.
Okay, but potentially the solution would be there, maybe in open API definitions. Okay.
Yes, I think it's one of the solutions, but again, to find the right prompt is a disaster in this case.
And the second question is, what are the product, if I want to use OpenAI in my product, you mentioned, yes, it could be expensive. Is there something else, for example, like GDPR and so on? Like, what are the other implications of using those models in my product?
About GDPR, and there is, maybe we are not be able to use any generative models soon in Europe. So it's, if you're interested, read EU Act. It's pretty interesting paper about how we can use generative models in Europe. And probably at one point, it's going to go to the heated discussion. But yes, you can use open source. Hugging Face. Hugging Face created a chat. I'm not sure if they have an API. I need to check it, but Hugging Face has already a chat running, something similar to OpenAI, and it's free. So yeah. It will be local, so there are no GDPR implications. I think there's still going to be GDPR implications because, first of all, I'm not sure and what data it was trained, and I think the question is going to be raised at one point. And for now, in EU Act, they say that whatever wasn't compliant with our licensing, they want to create some license for you. It's going to cost 4% of revenue of the company. Like they're going to be feed 4% of revenue of the company if they're going to be allowed to use, for example, OpenAI, something what is not licensed in GitHub, generative content, they're going to pay for, like, they have to pay for that. So GDPR implications one thing, generative models another thing. For me, like from ethical point perspective, I'm not happy that it's trained on the whole internet. So it's trained on all our data print at one point. So I think this topic is going to be more and more heated with time coming.
Maybe one point for your question. OpenAI will train on your data. So if you don't want OpenAI to train on your data, then don't use OpenAI and then use like self-hosted stuff because yeah, I think maybe Hugging Face has API, but Hugging Face models can be self-hosted and you can run it yourself.
And also there is an interesting part, which was, I'm not logged in, so I'm not going to show you. So now, since maybe last month, you can opt out that they're going to train on your data. So if you go to OpenAI, you go to settings, there is something opt out, opt in. You'll not be able to save your history, so you'll not be able to go back on your history, but also you don't let, like they say that they're not going to train on that. I don't believe it, to tell the truth, but at least they have this option.
More questions?
I have a question about the reasoning part, the agent initialization. Should I understand it that the choice of the specific tool is based on distance from like a stochastic vector distance of the tool descriptor and current step input?
Yes, I believe so. I'm not sure, but I believe so that they just said like thought and action, like one of this, and they just do a similarity which is close to the tool by the description. And that's why it's really important to make distinction, first of all, that they all far away from each other. So maybe sometimes it was missing like balance and account API because they were too close. That could be a case. And yeah, I believe there is a similarity search on that.
So like another option of stepping out of the loop is when the distance is too far. And it steps out because it realizes I don't have the tools.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if there is a possibility to set it up. So you can probably hack it and program it yourself, but I'm not sure if there is like attribute which you can set it up. But yeah, I believe that it could be a case.
Okay, thanks. More questions?
How would you pick between the larger, more expensive model, the slower model like GPT-4, and 3.5 that is cheaper and faster?
How would I pick?
Yeah.
I think it really depends on the task. If you need to do real-time stuff, you just go for less accurate but more faster. But in this case, like if I would create in a chat with my customer, I would go for a faster model. Because we know that users sometimes, they are not so pissed about if we are wrong, they're more pissed if it is slow. So I would go for a faster model when we're like interacting with the user.
But also the reasoning is important in larger model, that it doesn't make mistakes, right? For the user, it doesn't screw up the process.
It's always a trade-off, right? So you have to choose. And as we know that sometimes, and also like what I didn't show here, I didn't show the chat capabilities. So I think if we have a chat where the user can improve it, saying, hey, don't do this, do that, or improve this, I meant that. So giving a bit more context, it could be better. So I would still go with a cheaper one, cheaper, faster one, but maybe not so accurate.
Mm-hmm. And the second question, more machine learning. Are older transformers now obsolete?
It's a transformer, right? Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, BERT and others.
Obsolete in what case?
That we would only use GPT. And
no, I think people are gonna, now everybody use GPT because it's fun, it's easy, it's really like easy to cooperate with it. But I think people are gonna move to production activity, like production stage, and then they're gonna host their own stuff in cloud some people will stick with GPT, but I also think that it's quite expensive when you want to put it into production clients chatting. So I think we are not giving all the power to GPT yet, what considers like to run in production. We are going to still use some open source solutions for that.
Very nice presentation. Thank you very much. Have you ever considered using agent as a tool for another agent? Because the last use case was like lacking some sort of structure, and we know that from the beginning of your speech that we can produce structure with prompts and requests.
I think this is what Vráťa was talking about with Baby AGI and all of this. So they already do it. So there is already frameworks which use agents for another agents. We did similar test with using Baby AGI in the, like when it just came out, and it was not much better. So we dropped out, and it did more calls than these solutions. So it was more expensive, so we dropped out a bit. But I think it makes sense to go back and revisit, because it's like already a month, and we know that now a month is a long time to improve something to a new point.
Thank you.
Okay, more questions? Anyone?
There's one more question there.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, I have one question. Are clients willing to pay more for AI projects than like traditional projects?
Are there plans too?
I mean, whether your clients, or maybe Vráťa can answer, can you get money from your clients with AI projects?
I hope so. Like, otherwise it doesn't make sense to do AI, right? So there is two reasons. So everybody now want to use AI because it's hype, because people are putting investors for it, and we know sometimes at some projects AI is not needed, but we are pushed to do so. It was like a couple of years trend for the last couple of years. Now, with all these GPT and chatting capabilities, it's really easy to do a POC, a working POC. And like, we didn't move to production for our clients yet, but I think it's going to be a new fast approach to use all these chatting models into production environment soon. So yes, I believe, imagine that you have a call center and you need to chat with your people, and you don't want to do that. So you just give a chatbot, here is your one database of, I don't know, documentation, answer as much as best as possible based on this documentation. And then you're already making money, right? You don't have like 10 people doing that, you have 2 people doing that, and the other 8 people are not out of jobs, they do something more better and not so boring. And it just like saves money by doing that. So yes, I believe, like, I don't have yet examples with ChatGPT, but I believe that it's going to be profitable way for the companies.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? Anyone? It doesn't seem like it. Okay. In that case, thank you very much for being here with us. Thanks for being our guest for tonight.
Thank you. And Vráťa didn't get anything.
Vráťa didn't get anything, but I know him for a long time, so it's okay.
Thanks.
Would you like a flower? It's okay. Yeah, okay. You heard him. Okay, so thank you very much for staying here to listen to both talks. One was very hypey, the other one was calming down the situation a bit. So enjoy the rest of the evening. There will be a, let's say, a networking session, or like chat about whatever you want right here. And I believe that at 9:30 we should go to a pub or something. But Anička, is that right? Are we going? Yeah, we are going to the pub. So you are more than welcome to join us. So enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here on the stream, if you are on the stream. And yeah, have a nice evening. Bye.